Hello, everyone. My name is Tommy Collison. I'm with the growth team at Lambda. And today I'm going to be showing you how we use Slack. So Slack is a communication tool. It's a kind of a chat tool, as you can see here. And we use it all the time at Lambda School. We use it for basically all of the classes. This is where you'll get lecture videos. This is where you'll get your kind of one-on-one time with your PM. This is where you'll interact in your groups and everything. So we use Slack kind of day in, day out at Lambda School. And so there are a couple of things that I wanted to kind of talk through with you and kind of little tips and tricks that you'll find useful as you go through Lambda School. I'm confident that you will use this tool literally every day at Lambda School and probably for a lot of time each day. And so there's a couple of things that are useful to know, especially if you're coming in and especially if you haven't used Slack before. Slack is a pretty common communication tool in tech companies. And so you'll probably, as you go through Lambda School and get a great new development job, you'll probably see a lot of it. And if you're anything like me, you'll end up in a lot of different Slack workspaces. And there's a couple of things that kind of really help you get the most out of Slack that I wanted to share with you today. So the first thing is kind of the anatomy of Slack and kind of what it looks like and what we use it for. So right now we're in Slack Help. This is a channel that I created to just for this demo. I did this demo live last weekend, and now I'm recording it to be able to share it with other people who couldn't make it on Sunday. And so we're in the Slack Help channel, which you can see in the list of channels here. And you can see the kind of the long list of channels and the messages that I'm not currently reading. That little 2 means that there's 2 messages, either mentioning the entire channel or mentioning me specifically. I think they're all channel related. I'm not usually that bad at ignoring direct messages. But anyway, so you've got a list of channels here, and if you want to join more channels, what you have to do is click channels, and you can browse a list of open channels here. So let's join Alabama, which is not a very active channel, but you can see now that I have a new channel here. It's called Alabama. It already existed, and so it just got slotted in and added to the list of channels that I'm in. And you can just hit join there, and cool. Now it says that I've joined Alabama and it's in my list of channels. Now I can just go back and forth between Slack Help, which is the channel that we're in mostly today, and Alabama. I can just kind of go back and forth. I can jump in and out of channels. Once you join a channel, you're a member of it, and you'll stay a member of it until you decide to leave it. And so these are a list of all the channels that I'm currently a member of. So next thing is Slack messages. This is a message. So we can see we added to this conversation here. Things go obviously in kind of chronological order with the most recent thing at the bottom. There are 2 things that we should kind of remember here. One is, if we want to reply specifically to this public message, the best thing to do is to start a thread. So I could respond here and just say this is a reply, but what happens is that the channel kind of gets clogged up with a lot of chatter and a lot of back and forth, and it's better to kind of to stay on topic for things and also to kind of keep conversations self-contained instead of sending a reply to the general like Slack Help channel. A better thing to do is to go over here, and there's a button called Start a Thread. And what that does is basically allows you to respond directly to a message. And then you can see we added 1 reply here. And this is kind of better because it keeps the chat, it keeps the conversation in kind of one place, and then it's easy to follow because it's all over here, rather than kind of, you can imagine if there were 18 responses or kind of 3 conversations going at once, it would be pretty difficult for people to follow if it was just happening in the main channel here. So that's the first thing. The second thing is when you hover over a message, is this little add a reaction button. So you've probably seen these before. you can react to a Slack message with a bunch of different emoji. We use these a lot at Lambda School, both from a kind of social thing and being able to kind of reply to people quickly and kind of build a community with kind of in-jokes and things. But also you'll see when you're in lectures, the instructor will say something like react with the check mark to this message if you've gotten this far in the project. And so what you can do there is, excuse me, you can go and find the start a thread button, not the start a thread button, sorry, the add reaction button. You can search for checkmark and you can react with a checkmark. And you can kind of search for a lot of most things. If I wanted to react, if someone was talking about their pet, and I wanted to react with dog, look, there's a dog right there, cool. So we use reactions a lot, and I'll show you actually because we'll go to the general channel. Yeah, so you can see that a lot of people using threads, that's cool. But then also a lot of people hear someone talking about lunch, and so people are reacting with a lot of food emoji. So emoji and reactions are also kind of an important part of Slack. They allow for kind of fast communication, and also it's kind of one of the nice community things. So reactions, threads, channels, searching is really important at Lambda School. So we have, a ton of students, and rather than kind of ask a new question and kind of wait for someone to respond, one of the things you can do that's faster is do a search, see if your question has been asked before. So let's look for messages in. So you can do either a school-wide search. We could just search for Austin and search all the way, but that would search all of the public channels, and it'd be kind of hard to find. What we're looking for. So let's say in general, we're going to search for mentions of Austin, who's the co-founder and CEO. Cool. Here are a bunch of messages mentioning Austin in the general chat. Now, what if we wanted only the messages from a specific person? Like, I know that Tommy mentioned Austin somewhere, so let's add from Tommy. And so now we're only seeing messages in general mentioning Austin from me. And so you can play around with these search parameters and find kind of really what you're looking for. And it kind of allows you to find things much faster. So let's say instead of in general, let's search for mentions of JavaScript. Cool. And there's a bunch of people talking about JavaScript, but maybe we have a specific question about JavaScript. Maybe we have a question about arrays. Actually, a really good example of where this might be useful is we have a channel called Help, which is essentially where people go for help with a lot of their coding things. Aha. Okay. So if I had a question about arrays, we can see that would that value be the correct way to add a key value pair? And what we do, click into it, and you can see people answering the question. And so if you're looking for code help, as well as reaching out to your PM, or as well as reaching out to other students, it's a good idea as well to search the help channel, because chances are someone has had the same question that you have. And you might be able to find the answer a lot faster than that. Another cool feature is up here. We are going to actually jump to the general again, because Slack help I created about 5 days ago, so this feature doesn't actually work too much. So it's called jump to date. Basically, you can use this to browse a specific channel on a specific day. And so here we jumped back to January 9th. We could jump back even further if we wanted to November 8th. And how this is useful is you get access to, so the lecture happens live every day, and it's also recorded. Like, I'm recording my screen now. And where that's important is you can then go back over the lecture if you don't immediately grasp a concept, or if you just want to go back over it to like refresh yourself on these things. And where this jump to date feature is super useful is you can go back and see the Slack conversation that was happening when that lecture was happening. So you can kind of follow along the conversation when you're rewatching old lectures. And I found this to be super useful. So I actually was a student before I joined Lambda School, the organization, and being able to go back through old lectures and being able to see the question and answer that happened in Slack at the same time was really, really useful. Incidentally, this command that I'm using to quickly jump between channels, I could just like scroll up and find general and then go. But this command I'm using is on Macs, it's Command K. I don't know if it's the same on Windows, but you can just jump to and you can type where you're going. So that's a super useful command as well. The last thing I want to show you is an important thing. Well, actually, two things I want to show you. They're both up here in profile. So you can think about Slack as your professional workspace. So when we, someone reacted to a message. When we talk about Slack, this is kind of your professional workspace. These people are your colleagues, and these people are your classmates and everything. And we do kind of encourage you to keep it professional. What that means, as well as kind of keeping your kind of behavior and conduct and all that professional, and kind of being mindful that you shouldn't post anything in Slack that you wouldn't want, say, a hiring manager or your boss to see. More than that, one of the important things to do is make sure that you have a profile picture and your full name. This is important both from a community perspective, so people know who they're talking to, but then also on a kind of logistical perspective, your TA and your instructors need to know kind of who you are and how to find you to obviously give you help. And so it's important that everyone, let's go to my profile. It's important that everyone has their name here and then a picture that they can do. So the other thing is few preferences. Yeah. Make sure that notifications are not muted when you're in class. We sometimes find that students mute themselves or mute their notifications maybe it's automatic, maybe the notifications get snoozed, but what happens is they miss messages from their PM, they miss messages from their instructors. And so make sure that if you're disabling notifications, that you don't do it during class time. And I would suggest having notifications turned on as a default. So that's super important, that you don't kind of miss messages from your instructors. That is your introduction to Slack. If you have any questions, you should join the Slack help channel, which is right here. And just as a refresher, to join channels, you go up to channels and click browse, and then type the channel you're looking for. So I could join Slack. And you can see here there's a difference between the channels you can join and the channels that you already have joined. So if you have any further questions, I spent a lot of time in this channel, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions about Slack that I can. But otherwise, thanks for tuning in.